So, I decided to do a video since we're getting a new Exorcist film in about 2 weeks, or even less than that. I decided I'm going to rank all of the Exorcist movies on my personal preference from least favorite to favorite. Now, keep in mind, this is just my personal list. If you think a movie should be higher or lower on the list, that's totally fine. I'm always excited to see where you guys land on for these movies. Yeah, so let's get started. So let's talk about let's talk about if we're going from least favorite to favorite, and I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. But let's get this shit out of the way. The first movie, the least favorite on this list is fucking Exorcist 2: The Heretic. Arguably one of the worst movies, if not one of the worst sequels, if not one of the worst movies ever made. This piece of shit set horror back like a good 5 years, and Jesus Christ, that movie, I don't even know what to call it. Like, I know people will say, like, oh, I know some people out there are going to say, oh, Exorcist 2 Believer's worse than The Heretic. No, it's not. It may be bad, for all we know, but it's never going to be Heretic level bad. That movie itself is heresy to filmmaking in general. So, yeah, I'm just going to say this right now. Exorcist the Believer could be bad, for all we know. But it is not going to be as bad as Exorcist 2 the Believer. There is no way it can do that. Even if they fuck up everything, you can still walk away and go, man, that was bad, but it wasn't Exorcist 2 bad. Anyway, so let's get on to the next one. And I'm going to basically have two of the same movie here. Because they're both, while it's the same movie, they're both different. I'll explain in a minute. So let's get on to our next movie, and that is Exorcist: The Beginning. Exorcist: The Beginning is the prequel film to the original Exorcist film of Father Merrin encountering Pazuzu for the first time. Now, Exorcist: The Beginning is a jump cut mess of a film that I have only seen like all of 3 times, because the editing is so goddamn awful, the writing is bad, everything about this is just trying to be edgy. Like it's like, yeah, you could argue the original film has its edges too, but this is just like, fuck are you doing? It's a garbage ass movie. And not to say much about the other one, but if given of the two, I will take this one. And that next up on our list is Dominion, the prequel to The Exorcist. So Dominion is the Dominion is like the Snyder cut of the movie. In fact, having several edits along the way. It does have some it does change some things. In fact, it recasted several characters, changed them around, and it's tried to be a different movie. I will say that Peter Skarsgård, it's Peter Skarsgård, I think. It's one of the Skarsgård brothers, not named Bill. But yeah, Bill. Skarsgård gives a great performance, and he's a very convincible younger Merrin. The story is marginally better than the last one. There's a lot less CGI. The ending is completely fucking ridiculous, but it's a more believable story, and I would watch Dominion of the 2 edits. But at the time, could you ever imagine that we would have, like, at the time, it was unheard of to have 2 of the same movie with different edits to it come out. That's how bad Exorcist: The Beginning shit the bed. Now, granted, Dominion does have its flaws, but if given the option, I would pick Dominion. It's more of a solid film. Solid in the sense that it's more solid than its predecessor. But it does have some editing choices that I do not agree with. It is more... the ending also is just completely bonkers. But it's a more tolerable film. I will say that. It is a much more tolerable film if given anything. So, moving on. Next up, and this is going to shock a lot of people, but next on my list is The Exorcist. Now, I know what you're thinking. You probably went in here thinking, yeah, Exorcist is going to be at the top, right? Exorcist is going to be the #1 film in this ranking, right? It's one of the greatest horror films ever. Here's the thing, though, guys. While I appreciate that movie, and I've definitely grown an appreciation for it, I do think there are some things about The Exorcist that is a bit overrated. Do I acknowledge that it was a very influential film of the time? Yes. Do I acknowledge that it definitely flung the horror into more uncharted territory? Absolutely. And filmmaking in more uncharted territory. But the thing of it is, it just doesn't connect to me on the level of most people. Like, people's praising this is the scariest movie of all time, to which I say, have y'all not seen J-horror or Korean horror? That shit will make... I will watch some of those movies and only watch them once because I'm like, that's enough. Especially Audition. Oh, God. I've not watched Audition since I watched it once. And some other ones like Old Boy. But, yeah. I acknowledge that it's a great film, and I've grown to love it even more. But the thing of it is like, it just doesn't connect, especially that first half that doesn't really do... That's just more pacing. But it's like kind of running in place. That's what I meant to say. It's more of like a running in place film, and I don't know how to feel about it. But I do love the movie. But I'm about to say something very that's going to make everyone go, what? And that is my favorite Exorcist movie, Exorcist 3 Legion. I know what everyone's thinking. Really? Exorcist 3 is the movie you love the most out of all the Exorcist movies? Yeah. I think George C. Scott gives a great performance. I think there's it has one of the greatest jump scares of all time in the film. It has one of the greatest jump scares of our time, of any movie. Brad Dourif alone, those scenes he has as the Gemini killer are phenomenal. Is there stuff that doesn't make sense? Yeah, and that's mostly because William Peter Blatty had never directed a film, and he didn't do this without Friedkin, and he did this without William Friedkin. But I think this does a very good, solid, supernatural crime drama story, and it's carried by the characters. You know, like I said, George C. Scott playing Kinderman. There's some great banter in the film. There's some great scenery. And it's just uneasy at some points to watch. And I absolutely love it. But yeah. So there you go, guys. Exorcist 3 is my favorite of the Exorcist films. But you guys tell me in the comments below. I know there's not a lot of Exorcist films, and I didn't include the TV show because I just want to go with movies. So yeah. But you guys tell me in the comments below. What are your favorite Exorcist movies? Where do they rank for you? Like, from favorite to least favorite, where do they rank? And like I said, if you think a movie should be higher or lower on my list, that's totally fine. No problem with it. I got no problem with that. I'm always excited. This is just my personal preference, and I'm always excited to hear yours. But anyway, once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.